2 weeks ago, Oracle Team USA met Emirates Team New Zealand on the waters of San Francisco to begin the battle for the 34th America's Cup. The New Zealand challenger had built what looked like a stranglehold on the series. Now the Kiwis are on match point. The Kiwis now just one win away from the America's Cup. But on the brink of defeat, the defenders America are refusing to throw in the towel. So the Americans will come to the line and they will extend this series. Oracle Team USA gets the win in race 12.
From the start of this regatta, we were off the pace. It's almost like we get the best out of our people when they're under that sort of pressure.
No racing yesterday due to fickle winds, but 2 days ago, Emirates Team New Zealand had one hand on the America's Cup trophy, only to have it torn from their grasp. Light winds foiled the Kiwis in their quest to clinch the series and head home as heroes.
This is the third race now that we've been in the lead and haven't won. We can easily get this done, and it's just a case of going out there again, racing hard.
Team USA took the reprieve and ran with it, scoring a vital victory. Their dream of keeping the cup in America remains alive, but their backs are against the wall.
It's just full throttle for us. We don't have an option. The boys are almost, it sounds crazy, but they're almost excited that we're in this position.
The showdown continues in San Francisco. It's the 34th America's Cup. Summer has changed to fall in San Francisco as we welcome you to the city by the bay for the 34th America's Cup. Fog rolls in around the Golden Gate Bridge, but racing is on. Day 12, race 14. Alongside Gary Jobson and Ken Reed, I'm Todd Harris. Glad you have me with us on what could be a championship day if the Kiwis have it their way. But Oracle Ken is not backing down.
Well, we are going to see 2 races today, Todd. Mark my words. As long as the whales cooperate, yep, you heard it here first, there was a whale sighting on San Francisco Bay. Oracle wants it as they need to keep ticking away at what was considered an insurmountable lead. Emirates Team New Zealand wants it because simply they need to end this so they can go home to a parade in Auckland. Races 14 and 15 today on San Francisco Bay. Todd, one way or the other, we will have one of the more pivotal days the sport of sailing has ever seen.
Race 14 will be first up. The Kiwis needing just one win. The Americans have to make it a clean sweep and win 6 more to extend the regatta and keep the cup. Let's meet the defenders of the cup, Oracle Team USA.
Oracle's had no changes to the crew since the tactician change from John Kostecki to Ben Ainsley. And they still appear to be pretty loose as a team. Not just their skipper, who is leading by example in this near impossible position. On board, they're also looking the part. Very little stress, whether ahead or behind. Impressive, given the magnitude of the situation. The afterguard has to stay calm, and Spithill has to simply keep winning starts to give Oracle any chance at all.
So will the autumnal equinox be the key today for the Americans? They are looking up to the challenge and they are accepting it. And for young wing trimmer Kyle Langford, he says we're enjoying keeping the Kiwis from taking the cup.
You know, today's obviously another big day for the Cup. You know, we've been up against it for the last few days, and we've managed to hang in there. And I think we're really enjoying the challenge of stopping the Kiwis from winning it. And the more wins that we can take off them, the more pressure it puts on them. And we're really enjoying just taking one race at a time, and just focusing on that that one race just to get each point we can.
And here are the challengers, Emirates Team New Zealand.
This is getting old for Emirates Team New Zealand. The delays, the tough breaks, the late regatta speed surge from Oracle. It's all chipping away at the New Zealand lead to the point where they're done with this. Winston McFarlane remains on board in place of Grant Dalton. Winston has started 4 races so far and hasn't recorded a win yet with 2 abandonments and 2 losses. Trimmers Glenn Ashby and James Dagg are the stabilizing force, trimming the foils above the deck. And look to Ray Davies and Dean Barker to switch tactics on the starting line, trying to utilize the windward end in a changed current pattern on San Francisco Bay.
For 5 agonizing days, the nation of New Zealand has waited for this cup. Is today the day? Dean Barker refusing to let the delays bring him and his crew down.
Well, I think yesterday in some ways may have been a little blessing in disguise for us. It was a chance to regroup after, I guess, the disappointment of the day before. Everyone is, just so upbeat, so excited to be out there sailing. We couldn't be happier to be here racing in these conditions, and we're really looking forward to today.
Day 10 of the America's Cup in San Francisco was not a good one to be a Kiwi sailing fan. Oracle Team USA eyeballed Emirates Team New Zealand before the start of race 13, then proceeded to push the Kiwis out of the way before Mark 1. This was Oracle helmsman James Spithill displaying his trademark fire. Emirates countered by rolling USA's 17 downwind, picking a gust to sail lower and faster. Dean Barker, the coolest Kiwi on planet Earth, pulled out a commanding lead down the track, and the America's Cup was beginning to look like a done deal. Fans in New Zealand were watching in numbers, the entire country on tenterhooks. Then the clock starts ticking, and not in their favor. In shifty breeze, the 40-minute time limit passed, and the race officers, crazy guys, came into play.
This is race committee. Time limit has expired. This race has been abandoned.
Take 2, and Barker came out fighting. The Kiwis fired off the start line like a Kiwi bullet. Emirates Team New Zealand led around Mark 1, and they were off like a robber's dog down the track. The New Zealand flag is nautical in character, a blue ensign guided by the Southern Cross, a star to steer her by. But the first cross in San Francisco went against them. Oracle was right-of-way boat, and the Kiwis were penalized. Lead change to the defenders. Go USA. Oracle sped into the bottom gate. The Kiwis jibed. The defenders responded immediately. Then Emirates Team New Zealand replied. In a horror show jibe that will haunt Dean Barker and tactician Ray Davies for some time. Game over. The defenders live to fight another day.
Sometimes a couple of things go your way, and look, we've got to take it. We're in the position, we've got to take those things. But what a fantastic second race by the guys, really standing strong.
And the challengers were deflated.
It's disappointing to be that close, but so far away.
Oracle tactician Ben Ainsley summed up the day gracefully.
We felt very lucky. We also felt for the Kiwi guys because it's a tough situation to be in.
So the defenders are still in, but the challengers have an upper handful of races they can afford to lose. Unfortunately, day 11 wasn't a good one for any fan of the America's Cup. The course in San Francisco Bay is designed for prevailing southwesterly winds, so with a southerly, the race officers could not set a fair course. Patience with wind is a virtue that's intrinsic to sailing, and that's just the way it is. And there is the situation right now as the fog continues to roll in along the Golden Gate Bridge. The wind looks good, the visibility still decent, and the tide not a factor. As we take a look at the scoreboard before we get to racing today, here's how it stands. 8 wins to 5 wins. The Americans penalized 2 points prior to the start, so it is 8 points to 3. The Kiwis need 1 victory to claim the 34th America's Cup, and the Americans need to win out and get 6 points to keep the cup in the States. So Mother Nature playing ball with us today. For more on the conditions, the tide, and everything else in the San Francisco Bay, the third member of our broadcast team is Gary Jobson out on the water.
Well, Todd and Kenny, it's good out here. The right wind direction, good wind speed, flood current at 1.5 knots, all good. Here's the problem, however. The fog keeps coming in and out, which will make it very difficult to read the wind on the water, putting a real premium on the tacticians, Ben Ainsley and Ray Davies. One other thing. I've been watching all morning here. New Zealand has yet to do a practice start. In contrast, Oracle Team USA has done 6 practice starts. We'll see who gets the better jump at the gun.
All right, good to hear. We'll have more from Gary Jobson throughout today's racing action, whether it'll be races 14 and 15, Ken. One thing we do know, it is a serious flood tide. That's the water coming in from the Pacific.
That's right. It is the end of the flood tide, which means this is something that we haven't seen in quite a while. We've been dealing with ebb tides, or the tide going out San Francisco Bay now for almost a week. This is different, and it's really different off the starting line. What happens is that port tack entry, the entry that Oracle will have in both starts, is actually a bit negated by this flood tide. The weather end, or the end up towards the Golden Gate Bridge, actually comes into play much more often in this flood tide circumstance. So look for things to be changed up a bit today, a little different from what we've seen in the past.
And the course, as usual, starts off with that very exciting blast reach to mark number 1.
And very often that's the race right there, Todd. But again, we've seen more changes in lead in this America's Cup than any other America's Cup in history. Look for that to happen again. Oracle needs 2 races. There's just no other way around it.
And there are your 2 helmsmen on the left. Jimmy Spithill for Oracle Team USA, the defenders of the Cup. On the right, that is Dean Barker of Emirates Team New Zealand, as they would like to take the Cup back down to New Zealand and the awaiting crowd of more than 4.5 million people. And speaking of crowds, the folks here at America's Cup Park look like they are ready to watch some racing. Absolutely packing in here at 27 and 29, the beautiful pier in San Francisco, as we take you on board Oracle Team USA. We've got them covered both visually and audio, and we will have all that for you throughout the exciting racing. Now remember, the Americans have port entry today, and the Kiwis will be on starboard entry, so the Americans get in 10 seconds early. They kind of can force the issue, Ken, if they want to.
They get to pick and choose the time that they want to head back with that 10-second entry. But we think the current might negate that a little bit today. This could be a different look than we've seen in almost a week, Todd.
Oh yeah, about
Killing 5 on the box.
wait, about 18 from it.
Just get a little closer to it.
Well, with its flood tide, you would think that the windward end would be better. But the leeward end of the line, to my eye, looks a little closer by about 2 boat lengths to the first turning mark. So it's a toss-up which end of the line's better.
And at 2:10, the defenders of the Cup make their move.
Todd, you saw them slow down right at the last second. They were dangerously close. They thought they might actually be a little bit early there, and actually slowed the boat down right at the last second. Doesn't look like it's really made a difference, though.
Have a good one, bruh.
Miles ahead of him here.
Day 12, race 14 is on. Oracle Team USA must win out to keep this regatta going. One more loss and the Cup will go to the Kiwis.
We were talking about how loose these guys are on Oracle. You heard the last comment from Slingsby as they entered. Have a good one, bro. There doesn't seem to be a lot of pressure with these guys.
Where is he on ley line? He's
Killing 5 seconds, yeah, 5 seconds
coming
to the
up
boat.
and attacking in 3.
See, there you saw a tack instead of a jibe. Already a different strategy. These guys are trying to stay up current a little bit towards the bridge.
All face there, boys.
Killing 30 to the line.
The slow build there. 55. He's on our line. He's higher. He's on the wind here.
Oracle's dangerously close to the line here. They got a lot of time to kill. New Zealand's in a great position.
They just said they got 30 to kill to the line. That's a lot of time. Gapping off by Team New Zealand. That means they're trying to get up to the weather end. But have they pulled their hand? Have they shown their hand too early? This is going to be a time and distance start, Todd.
I like New Zealand's position here.
10 seconds to the line. The all clear is sounded. Day 12, race 14 is on.
This lighter breeze, I think it's going to allow Oracle to escape out from underneath. It's the same thing again. It's a windward leeward. Oracle is in the favored leeward position. The other boat has to stay out of the way. They're going to avoid the mark again. This is just typical strategy for match racing.
So in fact, what they're doing, folks, if I'm correct, Kenny, is the Americans are just pushing the Kiwis as far off course as they can.
They'll try to get them slow and then try to extend and gain as much as they possibly can here. Remember, the boundary is going to come into play fairly shortly.
Set up here, guys. Drive, guys. Going straight forward. Set up there. Hold it. 3. Not yet. 2. I'm on the boundary, Gov. 1. Go forward. Driving.
Simultaneous jibe. Who can do it better?
And Oracle being a leeward boat, New Zealand needs to get an overlap at the mark.
I think actually New Zealand slowed down in that jibe on purpose as to not get an overlap and make sure that they weren't committed to weather of Oracle, who was the right-of-way boat in that position. They do have to get down to this mark, obviously. They have to leave the mark to their right side.
Sail up, mate. Sail up. Special there yet.
I got right.
So the lead at mark number 1 is 6 seconds to Oracle Team USA. The Kiwis just off their left-hand side, and now the tactics begin.
Pretty soft.
See the numbers there. Oracle Team USA 3 knots faster than the Kiwis.
They could just be sailing again. The puffs that they go into, it's not like traditional sailing where the puffs come from behind the boat. The puffs they're actually sailing into are dead in front of the boat. So very often the boat ahead has the advantage just in sailing into better breeze.
So the second jibe comes here on race number 14. And again, the Americans have a lead of over 125 meters as we check in on the water with Gary Jobson.
Well, Todd, looking at the wind on the water here, it gets a lot lighter because they get closer to the gate. So staying in a good pressure, more wind, is really going to be a premium. You want to jibe when you're in the stronger wind, not when it's light.
And Gary, on the course, as we look down from the helicopter shot, where is the sweet spot on this course? Is it left, right, or center?
Well, right now, I like the center of the course. There's more wind. When you get to either side, the wind gets lighter. And boy, is Oracle sailing fast. They're gaining like crazy.
Better pressure this way, I think. Really nice mode. Keep it fast, Cole. It's getting a little slow.
Give you a look at virtual eye animation and just show them what it is. And Kenny, the big 3 letters that everyone talks about in this race is VMG.
That's right, it's VMG. Those yellow lines, that's how fast you're getting towards the mark. It's a combination of your forward speed dead ahead and the angle from the breeze you are. So right now, obviously pretty close, but Oracle has had a slight edge like Gary reported earlier.
VMG, or velocity made good, as the Kiwis jibe yet again.
That graphic looks like a page out of my physics book in high school.
Pressure is down, Hank. Pressure's down.
In those first couple jibes, Todd, and we have so rarely said this in this entire event, Oracle out-jibed the Kiwis in those first 2 jibes and gained a little bit on both. And we just always have seen the Kiwis have better jibes than everybody else. It shows how far along these guys have come since the beginning of this series and their maneuvering problems.
You've got pressure coming, so you're in a good mode, but just watch it if it gets lighter that we don't force the fly, okay? Okay, good mode here. Best pressure's right there, but yeah, we're going to get there.
And when you listen to Ben Ainsley, the tactician for Oracle, and he says good mode there, is he just talking about he likes the wind that he's getting in this position?
No, that's the VMG number that we're talking about. Good mode means your angle from the wind compared to your boat speed forward. It's that combination, that VMG number, that's what he's calling just mode, good mode.
And again, your VMG is your velocity made good. And right now, Ben Ainsley, the four-time Olympic champion, likes the way the defenders, Oracle Team USA, are sitting.
3, 2, 1, diving.
Really classic match racing going on here right now for Oracle, Gary. They're just staying between the man and the mark, and they're not letting them out of their sights.
I love the way Oracle Team USA has improved their driving here over the last week and right out of the textbook. Stay between your competitor and a mark. A mistake both of these boats have made in previous races. They're not making that mistake now.
And Gary, what do you think about gate selection? What side do you think the Americans are going to go for?
Well, Ben Ainsley and Oracle Team USA has got the choice, left gate or right gate. I have to think he wants the left gate to work that cone underneath Alcatraz Island. There's less current over there, and that would be the best place to be.
No problem at all. Taking us down to the lane line. Yeah. Okay. Well, boy, really good, guys. They're going to have to set up there. Yeah. There they go. We've got 30 seconds. Make sure we get the immersion here. 25.
So the Americans going about their business as they have grown the lead to more than 274 meters, dropping just minutely right there as we transition back to the Kiwis. Remember, they just need one more victory and the America's Cup is theirs. And again, they just aren't getting the pressure. They just aren't getting the speed that we're known to seeing them have on the downward leg.
Yeah, this is nervous moments for all Kiwi fans all the way around the world. This is clearly nervous moments. Oracle's sailing away here right now, and it's always been thought in kind of this medium breeze that this was a breeze that New Zealand possibly had an advantage in. Doesn't show. That's not showing up right now on this leg, Todd.
So there's the situation right now. The Americans have a 300-meter lead. We look at Jimmy Spittle in the center of your screen right there. He is the helmsman.
Yeah, just to give us the maximum.
Now, this is a condition where you could see a full split at this mark. There's two ways of doing this on the tidal change. With the incoming tide, it's actually sweeping out of the bay along the shoreline. You could see Oracle go for the cone, like Gary just said, and Team New Zealand actually could split all the way to the shoreline right away. We could see the biggest split we've seen in this entire event so far.
At mark number 2, it's Oracle Team USA. Their lead 300 meters, and they will make their way for the cone behind Alcatraz Island. The Americans' lead at gate number 1 was 6 seconds. It has more than doubled here on leg number 2.
Just heard Ben Ainsley say, keep going straight here all the way to the boundary. So I guarantee you they had a playbook committed before this race started. If we're ahead, we're going for the cone.
Their lead has been quadrupled from 6 to 24 seconds. The Kiwis will head towards the shore, and the Americans will look for relief in the cone behind Alcatraz Island.
Nice take forwards, we're right on this.
So the Americans on leg number 3 of 5, nursing a 300-meter lead. How much relief will they see, Gary, off the back of Alcatraz Island with the tide?
Well, not only get some relief of about a knot and a half, Todd, but they actually could get a little counter current sweeping up toward the windward mark, and that'll help them gain a little bit more. New Zealand, on the other hand, has done the right move, heading for the same spot, but I don't know if they're going to have the speed to catch up.
Yeah, so they determined, Todd, that ebb current, or the current flowing out of the bay up along the city front, is not enough yet, so they decide to keep it close, and they're playing the cone, that tidal relief behind Alcatraz, just like the Americans did.
20 seconds here. Stand by, guys. Stand by. Press for you.
So there's the scene on the San Francisco Bay. Alcatraz Island off to their right. The Americans' 300-meter lead over the Kiwis. The lead is just over 270 meters for Team USA, the defenders of the Cup. The Kiwis trying to close it in, and there is Alcatraz Island. Ken, for the folks that don't know about the cone, the only thing I know about Alcatraz Island is somewhere you don't want to go. But for the sailors today, this is definitely somewhere they're heading towards.
Yeah, so we talked earlier about either the relief, the tidal relief under Alcatraz, or potentially the tidal relief all the way on the San Francisco shoreline. Both of these boats determined that it's not early enough in the ebb or the change, so they both elected to go up behind Alcatraz Island and try to stay out of the current that way. Hey, for Americans right now, it's an easy choice. Just stick with your competitor and hopefully stay between them and the mark.
Yeah, we're just going to get past this line pretty much.
Man, close to the boundary right there, Todd. That was kind of almost like the boundary snuck up on them, and they did a bit of a crash tack there. That was not their best tack, but nonetheless, still a nice little lead.
Folks have found a spot all along the waterfront here in San Francisco. People have made their way out to Alcatraz, and look at our good friends out at America's Cup Park. That is some prime real estate with the Coit Tower behind them. They are watching on, as is the rest of the world. This is the 34th America's Cup.
Upwind can't, Simeon. Nice and low, boys, if you're not doing anything.
Wait on, guys. Hit the pressure, give me a real hard front.
Okay, copy. That could just wind angle could be wrong.
Every day, Jimmy Spithill comes out and says, you know, we almost relish the opportunity to be the spoilers here, because everyone expected 4 or 5 days ago for the Kiwis to pick up one win, Kenny, and take the cup back to Auckland. And you're starting to see what Jimmy Spithill's talking about. The boys are really rising to the occasion.
So you're believing that they really...
Starting to drink the Kool-Aid a bit.
I'm still not I don't think they love the situation they're in, but they are rising to the occasion. The start was just exactly, that's right out of the textbook. The start is exactly what they needed. Give them a jump, and their boat is fast now. It still goes back. It's amazing to me that they were so far off the pace at the beginning of this series, and how quickly they've gotten up to a point where they're even or faster.
Well, it's one thing to go out there in front of the media at the end of the day and say, we believe that we can still win. We think we're going to win. We think we're faster. It's another thing to do it. And Jimmy Spithill and his crew have certainly gone out there and done it. They have backed up the words that their skipper has said at the podium, and here they are leading on leg 3 of 5, which would be a clincher for that man, Dean Barker and his crew. They just cannot track down the Americans right now, so it looks like at this point we will see a second race of the day, and I won't say who mentioned that, but one Ken Reed guaranteed it. The distance has come down now to below 200 meters, and that is Ray Davies.
There is no quit in any of these guys, that's for sure. So they'll shake it off. And the race isn't over, Todd. Don't get me wrong here.
And how about this? What was a 300-meter lead now comes down to 140 meters. And Gary, why the big drop for the Americans?
Well, what's happening here, Todd, is the wind is actually getting lighter at the top of the course, and so they're going slower. More wind at the bottom, that's what New Zealand has. But boy, is that current ripping out here, and that's going to be a big factor on the final approach to Windward Mark. Ripping, what I mean, flooding coming into the bay.
Boy, that was a big change there, wasn't it? I think it just got light for the guys ahead along that shore, and they really came back into them in a big way, the Kiwis did.
Yeah, Kenny, as I look up the course on the left side of the screen there, right in under the Presidio along the city front, there's a little bit of a left shift. In other words, the wind is better over on the shore and the current's less. New Zealand can take advantage of it.
Yeah, I agree.
There's real nice gains at the end here. Courage, bring the attacks up here. Got good pressure right at the end.
Here we go. Come on. Okay, boys, here we go. Tilting.
Good move by Oracle to cover. Right thing to do.
Still not a lot of panic in these guys, but the lead is shrinking here. A lot of it has to do with the boat ahead also, Todd. They leave the cone behind Alcatraz and they have to sail out onto the conveyor belt. That's going the wrong way. So the boat ahead inherently loses a bit of a lead, but this has gotten a lot tighter than those guys on Oracle ever thought it would. I can guarantee you that. This next cross is not very far. Wow, what a comeback by Emirates Team New Zealand.
And here come the Kiwis. They were down by more than 300 meters, and here they are, right behind the Americans.
Here we go again. Hold on, folks. Welcome to the Modern America's Cup.
Now keep in mind that now New Zealand's going back out into the middle, where Oracle lost, and Oracle's going to have a left. So a chance for the Americans to make up ground.
But they don't have starboard tack advantage if they do come back close. Team New Zealand will have starboard tack advantage.
Come on, here we go.
If I'm New Zealand, I want to tack really early and not wait a long time. The reason they don't want to go out into the flood.
Nice on,
Standing by. Wow, what a slow tack by New Zealand.
Gary, we could really see in these helicopter shots a very distinct current line out there, right smack between the two boats right now.
Right, the current's worse on the right, Ken, than the left as we look at it from the air.
Correct. There's a nice little game back by the guy to the left. You wonder if they're going to tack before this current line, Todd.
That'd be two tacks in quick succession. Very tough to do that. They can lose more. Look for Oracle to tack in 2 to 3 boat lengths.
Yeah. I agree, it's good. Yeah, it's great with that. Double high mode in general, Colin.
Tide and wind pressure, and right now both boats are basically walking on an escalator the wrong way, and they are trying to get as much pressure as possible. As Gary has pointed out and Ken Reed, it looks like the left side of the course has more favorable winds, and so that is why both boats are hugging the shore front.
It's such a fine line with these boats because they do maneuver. Even though we keep saying how much better they've gotten at tacking, catamarans are notoriously really bad tacking boats. So you try to minimize as many maneuvers as you can while staying on the proper side of the conveyor belt here. Tough for both boats at this stage.
Very different shaped jibs here right now, Kenny. You look at the New Zealand boat, it's a very high aspect sail. In contrast, Oracle's got a very low aspect sail. You think, I'm just wondering, because you're the sailmaker, having that higher jib, is it helpful to the New Zealanders?
Well, it does look to be just a little bit bigger sail. You know, a lot of times these sails, they help the wing itself just create flow over the backside of the wing. You wonder if the small bit of overlap that Oracle has makes up for the fact that it's smaller jib in general. I'm surprised these guys didn't go back and left earlier, Gary, but it seems like they're in kind of a high slow mode to get up in front of New Zealand.
Yeah, I like the course that the USA is sailing. High, slow, just close it up, take away any passing lane. Good move by Oracle.
He's gone soft at this stage. It'll be a little dip if he tacks, okay? And then we'll set up just past him. So if he tacks, it's a definite dip.
That's a hand bearing compass Ray Davies is using there to take bearings on the other boat.
Ray's talking about a dip, Todd, between the two boats. If Oracle tacked, they would actually have to dip them. Oracle would be on starboard, Team New Zealand on port. But what I like about Team New Zealand here right now, they're inside the current line as they're going up here. This whole way up, big left-hand shift. They're almost heading towards the mark, but they're still inside the current line.
The boundary, no problem, so we just keep it in a holding pattern.
Let's go on board Oracle Team USA and listen in.
We get to ley line a minute. I think we've got to speed up a bit. Sorry, I think we've got to speed up a bit. They're really coming at us. Yeah. You call it.
Again, Todd, they're talking about the modes between the boats. They're really coming at us. That means the other boat's lower and faster. These guys are high and slow, just trying to get up in front of them.
Yeah, nice mode here. Nice mode.
New wind filling into windward. That'll help Oracle Team USA get the win first.
Right behind him at this.
Right now, I think they're just going for the least possible maneuvers they can do. Oracle will probably just do one tacking in, and New Zealand will follow them through. Like Ray Davies just said, will be really close.
The other day, you know. Looks like it's real soft for him if he goes all the way. I agree.
Both boats, VMGs. Oracle's a little higher, a little closer to the wind, slightly slower. So again, that higher, slower mode, they're trying to tactically get up in front of Emirates Team New Zealand.
Up ahead, I see the wind turning to the right. That'll help Oracle. They're going to attack with a favorable wind shift.
Anytime. There we go, guys. 3, 2, 1. Here we go, attacking.
It's good inside, it's good. Pulling on the wind here. He is not laying left.
Keep it going here.
That was the voice of Ray Davies. He is not laying left. Very interesting call here by these guys on Oracle. They're going to do 2 tacks into the gate and take the downwind mark that brings them offshore first. Team New Zealand will likely just do 1 tack coming up here, and they'll head towards the shore. I'm guessing a split again.
Nail on you, don't go too thin. Right in
Well, the right mark has certainly paid in the last few races, but with that wind coming off the shore, it might be a little bit better. New Zealand's got a chance.
Okay, pretty happy. Good. Getting by. 3.
Get it going on the foil here. Should be good.
Will the strategy pay off for Oracle Team USA? They throw in 1 extra tack, and now they are inside the gate, gate number 3. 2 more legs to go, and the Americans will have a victory, but the Kiwis are coming fast.
Go, good, mate. Wing on, wing on, wing on. Go wing, go wing. Set up to drive. Stand by. Go wing, boys. Anytime here. Okay, go bottom. Go board, Sirin.
Todd, I'm nervous, and I'm not about it. I mean, the Kiwis, this is just the Kiwi mentality. They just don't ever quit.
New Zealand has chopped 9 seconds off what was a 24-second lead at gate number 2. It now stands at 15 seconds. And did they make the right call? Everyone here is watching, cheering on the Kiwis, cheering on the Americans.
New Zealand needs to drive soon. They got to get this in the center and get some maneuvers going if they want to pass.
Gutsy call by Oracle at that top mark to throw in that extra tack. Not only they gave up starboard tack there as well, but they were really committed to wanting to go offshore first, and it looks like it's paid off. It's gone from a small lead to a reasonably big lead in a short period of time because of that second tack. Great call by Ainsley.
So the lead is back up to 300 meters for the Americans. They rolled the dice, and it came up Yahtzee. Will it pay off with 2 more legs?
We've only got 50 the other way. This pressure's starting to rip. There's another one.
And this has got to be disheartening for the Kiwis, because this is what the Americans look like getting on leg number 2 going downwind. They just sped away.
That extra tack, I can't underestimate how much that was a big call by those guys, by the guys on Oracle, to do the extra tack at the top mark. Just gave them, it launched them. It went from a small lead to a launch by actually doing an extra maneuver. Kind of rare in the catamaran sailing that we've seen for a while now.
3, 2, 1, driving. Good left hand. Yep.
San Francisco Bay is the setting for the 34th America's Cup. Oracle Team USA, the defenders, need to win out 6 more races and the Cup will stay in the States. If they have one misstep and give one victory to the Kiwis, the Cup is heading down under.
Boy, Oracle just had a really slow tack, and all of a sudden we're calling this race over, and it's launched to they close right up to 100 meters again. Really slow tack. Gary, it must be very puffy down on the water.
Very puffy and very light along the shoreline. Still, I like what Oracle's doing, just jiving between them. This is where New Zealand's going to jive right now to get to the left. They gained on the left, they got to get back over there.
Oh, I don't know about this. That's a lot of maneuvering out there right now. They're struggling to get up on their foils. That's how slow, that's how light of air it is. They are right back next to them again. That was, I'm not so sure about that last maneuver, Todd, by Oracle Team USA.
Well, jiving to stay in front was good, Ken, but they did it early. They needed to go 4 lengths and stay between them and the mark, not straight ahead of them.
Really light air out there right now.
And just a matter of minutes, Ken, we were talking about 300 meters. It has now dropped down to below 100, and once again, the Americans have found their pace.
It's one
but
of the...
New Zealand is in very light, sorry guys, New Zealand's in very light wind now. They too got to maneuver and get back to the right.
Big one. 20.
I can only imagine what the pulse rate of your average New Zealand resident is doing over the last 5 minutes. From 300 to 30, back to 300.
It's really puffy, and it's who gets up on their foils right now. It's so light. I think if they were sailing normally and they were set up for it, they might even have code zeros up right now. It's so light because they're struggling to get up on their foils, and whoever does makes huge gains into the other guy.
This is leg 4 of 5. This is race number 14 on day 12. The Kiwis looking for just one lone victory to take the cup.
He's coming back again.
Disaster for Emirates Team New Zealand. Wind just almost stopped.
My goodness, look at the difference. Just too light to foil, Todd. The difference, and all of a sudden, Oracle's gone. You can't make this stuff up.
You look at the speeds. The Americans sitting at 24. Now the Kiwis getting up over 20, but for the longest time, they were holding at 14 knots.
You happy with this, or you want me to put it in?
Look at that. They had, when Team New Zealand up top, right by where their number is, right by where their boat speed, there's where the 2 jibes happen. And New Zealand didn't even go down. They almost went backwards on the race course. They went up just dead across the race course, just never got any wind, never got up on the foils. I know I've said this about a dozen times this race. It kind of looks like game over, but I'm not so sure it's ever game over in this stuff.
And Gary, what's been the difference today? Is this a tactician's duel?
Well, it certainly is a tactician's duel, and Ben Ainsley's winning that tactic duel. But I go back to the start. Oracle Team USA, by my count, had at least 6, maybe 7 time runs, practice starts. I didn't see New Zealand do any. They lost the start, and that was where it set the pace. You got to practice before you race these boats, and they didn't do much practice at all on New Zealand.
Well, let's take a look at virtual eye and the dog leg that the Kiwis had in the red. Look at that in the middle.
Yeah, in the middle, they took that left-hand turn. It's the red line, took a left-hand turn, and in essence didn't go anywhere down the race course for about 2 minutes there. All the while, Oracle Team USA is just boogieing down the city front, and off they go into a nice little lead. But listen, this is nothing is over out here right now. It's who can get up on their foils. It's that light air that doesn't allow you to easily get up on your foils. Here's New Zealand ripping right into them again.
By the way, there's 11 minutes left in the time limit to get to the finish line. 11 minutes.
Looks pretty soft out of this. Yep, I'm happy to go. We've got to mix it up a click here. Happy to go here. 20 seconds.
God, it was just 800-meter difference, and all of a sudden they're right back in the game again.
Stand by. Stand by, lads.
This last jibe, and who gets a puff into the mark could be the race. It's that crazy out there. Catamaran racing at its best. The maneuvers just kill you in this lighter air.
Real light. Okay, Joe.
tyre. It's, happy to keep it. Go for it. Go big one. Big one here, guys. Keep going. Coming down with pressure.
Well, definitely the right side of the course as they're heading downwind seems like it is almost no man's land, because when you head over there, the wind seems to go away, and now the Americans are heading back into the center of the course, nursing this 260-meter lead over Emirates Team New Zealand.
Well, for American fans, just seeing the boat up on its foils right there is a huge sense of relief. It's just a minefield of puffs, of wind puffs out there, coming and going from good spots to bad spots. We've seen as dramatic lead change or lead differences, you know, expansion and contraction of the lead as we've seen during this entire series.
40 and 40.
BMG's both reasonably similar right now. Maybe Oracle a slight edge towards the mark. It's that yellow, the yellow line towards the mark. The yellow arrow is actually the speed towards the mark. Takes into your speed forward, your angle away from the wind. That's your BMG.
Oracle has 9 minutes to reach the finish line on the time limit.
Gary Jobs is referring to is the 40-minute time limit, and it was just 2 days ago that the Kiwis were on the last leg, and the 40-minute time limit expired. They were that close to winning the Cup, Ken, and the officials blew the race dead.
Well, I think it's pretty obvious that this 40-minute time limit is just simply too short. And here they are. They've both been zipping around the racetrack pretty reasonably. Yeah, they've had some light air patches and light air moments, but just the fact that they're close to the time limit just simply says to me the time limit is too short. I don't think this race is ever over, though. Look at, here comes New Zealand going only 8 knots faster than Oracle right now. Big jibe. Can they get the thing up on foils again and get going and get around this mark?
Yeah, we should get it foiling in this pressure. Big one on here. We'll get it up here. Lane line's the only thing. No problem, lane line. Good pressure. No problem, guys. Go wing. Go wing. Big one here, guys. Steady by. Guys, on it. 3, 2, go wing. 1, driver.
And that's exactly what Oracle Team USA does. Up on the foils and now flying in excess of 34 knots.
Boy, this is unbelievably huge for Oracle. Fending that off, dealing with the pressures. Every moment of that race was a terrifying experience for Ben Ainsley, I can tell you that.
The lead was 6 seconds at mark number 1, 24 seconds at mark number 2, down to 15 seconds at mark number 3. And it looks like the Americans have done enough here on this 4th leg to put the Kiwis in a bad spot, as their lead has now gone up over 20 seconds even, to be exact.
Todd, that's why you have a 4-time Olympic gold medalist as your tactician. Just clearly cool under pressure, dealt with the situation. I mean, it is terrifying being in those shoes at times when you see the other guy reeling you in like Emirates Team New Zealand was doing it a few times during that race.
36-year-old Sir Ben Ainsley, a 4-time Olympic gold medalist, also has a silver in his collection. Normally a helmsman, but he was brought on board to make some changes and mix things up when Oracle Team USA was in a world of hurt, unable to get wins, and it looked like the Kiwis were going to run away with this thing, and they started planning their parade in Auckland on Queen Street. Well, it's not the case. Race number 14 on day 12 will go the way of the defenders. Oracle Team USA lives to fight another race.
Don't run into the dock after the race. Wow. Wow. No other word. And give these guys, give New Zealand a ton of credit. They were way behind a few times. They did not quit. It just shows you, stand by, folks. We got another race to go here, and there's nothing off limits at this stage.
So it is now 8 wins to New Zealand, 4 wins to the U.S. The Kiwis still need 1 precious victory. The Americans' magic number is 5.
And I know the Americans don't want to talk about this, or maybe they do. What would have happened without the 2-point penalty?
Without the 2-point penalty, Kenny, we'd be looking at more of an 8-6 situation, and the pressure really would be on, and we'd still be sailing. What we do know is we have another race today. As Ken Reed correctly predicted at the start of today's broadcast, we would see 2 races. Race number 15 will take place in about 30 minutes. Can the Americans stave off another day and get through the weekend clear?
You're getting me in trouble with Kiwis all around the world. I just want to see another race. I mean, who as a sailor, I know we all have our rooting interests here, but I'm a fan of just seeing more unbelievable racing in front of crowds like this. This is so great for the sport. Hey, all bets are off at this stage.
The Army Corps of Engineers may do a quick retrofit of that pier as the fans continue to pour out and see possibly history made in what would be the most unbelievable comeback in sport. With the Americans down by 8 races, they have now cut it down to just 4 races with another race going today. And you've got to think they have the belief that, you know what, the way we're sailing, bring it.
I'm not sure there's enough Americans on board Oracle to understand if they showed them like a, let's say, a Red Sox Yankees 2004 tape or something like that. But we're starting to bring up those types of references when it comes to this. Yeah, give these guys a ton of credit. They've bought into what they're saying off the boat. And you know what? Give New Zealand credit, too. They were behind the start, didn't have their best start. And man, oh man, did they keep it close, though.
So the Stars and Stripes are waving proudly at America's Cup Park as they make their way back towards the start box. They'll give about 25 minutes of preparation, rehydration, and nutrition, and then it is game on for race number 15 as Larry Ellison and his party look on very happy as the defenders of the Cup. We go on board Oracle Team USA. Ben Ainsley, the 4-time Olympic champion. Sir Ben, that was one amazing race. Take us through it and the decision at mark number 3 to get that extra tack in.
Did you copy that, Emirates Team New Zealand? Copy, start time.
Comm's not working right now to Ben Ainsley. We'll get back to him. Larry Ellison in the middle of your screen there, the owner of Oracle, the man who has really funded the vision behind this AC-72 in the 34th America's Cup.
It's fun to see the boss happy and all these guys. This is a team that's starting to get on a roll. They clearly believe, there's no doubt about that. They're putting their money where their mouth is. I'll tell you, this is impressive to watch.
You know, one of the things I think would have been good in this America's Cup if Larry Ellison actually had gotten a sail aboard the boat. But these catamarans, it's kind of a young man's game. But had he been aboard, it would have certainly been good.
So as the fans continue to make their way to Pier 27 to watch possibly history in the making as the Americans have forced race number 15, the big question is, can the Americans get it done over the Kiwis' clinch? Let's look at it one more time. Race 14 on day 12. The Americans with port entry, but right off the start, it looked like, Ken, the Kiwis had the best position.
Yeah, the windward end was opened up, which is the end towards the top of our screen here. It was opened up by a change in current today. We called that before the race even started, that boats would tend to lean towards the top. This is called a gapping move. They gap off on Emirates Team New Zealand. They have committed to be at the top end of the line right now. Now it becomes time and distance. Oracle does it slightly better, and they hold their speed all the way to the mark. It's really just a flat-out boat race here. Oracle's on the inside. They are going to have the advantage when they get to mark 1.
And at mark number 1, after the Americans had pushed the Kiwis deep, almost off course, the race was on.
A little bit of match racing up here, a little luff by Oracle, slows down the Kiwis a little bit. They make the next mark. This is terrific to see the kind of that hand-to-hand battling that a lot of the naysayers didn't think we would see in these catamarans. We are absolutely seeing real match racing in 72-foot foiling cats.
And on leg number 2, the Americans starting to put some serious distance between themselves and the Kiwis. At mark 2, they looked almost flawless.
Well, they did, and they played the next little part of this leg very, very well. They had their plan. They were going to play that tidal relief up behind Alcatraz Island, force Team New Zealand out into the current right away. They get their split, but the Americans actually went the right way and did this first part of the leg really well.
Big cross on the third leg. The Americans held their nerve.
They sure did, and all of a sudden it started getting lighter, patchy. They shifted across to the other side of the race course, to the left-hand side on the city front, again for current reasons, and all of a sudden the boat to the left gets right back into it. Whoever got over to the left there ended up gaining.
Here it was at mark number 3, and Kenny, they threw in the extra tack, which at the time everyone was thinking, oh my gosh, they're going to give away this lead.
They did, and it was a great move by Oracle Team USA. We were certainly second guessing it, but well, you know what? They kind of know what they're doing on board that boat.
On the fourth leg, it went back and forth. The lead 500 meters, then down to 80. Then the Americans seemingly had a magnet on there as they were picking up the right wind.
Well, this is interesting. This is kind of the play of the day right here. All of a sudden, it forced Team New Zealand to jibe away. Maybe if Team New Zealand hadn't jibed away and been more patient there, they could have opened things up for the latter part of the run.
And at the finish, the Americans can rejoice momentarily. Race 14 was theirs. So minor changes being made, fixes as the pit crew comes on board and works with the folks on board Oracle Team USA. We go on board as well with four-time Olympic gold medalist Sir Ben Ainslie. Ben, I'll tell you what, that was definitely one to get the heart rate going, especially when you boys made it up to gate number 3 and the extra tack. What was the thinking there?
Yeah, it was a tough call for us. The wind was, as you could see, the wind was pretty light. So actually, Tommy did a great job there, helping me with the breeze, and we picked that right gate. Touch and go there for a minute, but it worked out. But then the run itself got even dicier as the wind got lighter and lighter down the course. So very tough race.
Ben, you can start breathing again now. It looked like you guys might. It was close there on that run. We were feeling for you. Just take us into the play halfway down the run. These guys are closing in. Give the people at home just an idea of what it's like on board.
Oh, it's hard because you're trying to sail the boat as fast as you can, but you know the wind's getting lighter as you get down the course, and the boat behind's probably going to gain. But the guys did a good job sailing the boat, keeping it calm. You know, again, working with Tom, did a great job. You know, when the heat really came on and they were right on our hammer there, we managed to just hold on and make the right decisions. But yeah, a few nervous moments, that's for sure.
Hey, Ben, how do you decide between going for good wind in these puffing conditions and then deciding when to cover? So you got to do one or the other. Sometimes it's hard to do both. How do you make that decision?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? At some point, you're happy to cough up a bit of a lead just to stay in phase with the other guy. I think, you know, as we came over to the city side there, we were happy just to give a little bit away. Just to stay between the other guy and the mark, but you know, if they're gaining too much, ultimately you have to, at some point you have to split and hope that you make the right decision.
Well, Ben, the good news is you guys keep the regatta going. We will see a race number 15. The bad news is you get no time to celebrate.
No, it's all right. It's good out here. We're happy to be racing. Thanks, guys.
Ben, thanks for your time. Ben Ainslie, tactician for Oracle Team USA, as they go for their preparations now for race number 15. Meanwhile, on board Emirates Team New Zealand, the number still remains at 1. One more victory, and the cup is going back to New Zealand for the third time. But getting that one win is proving to be very challenging. As we go on board Emirates Team New Zealand, their tactician, Ray Davies, joins us. Ray, that was a heartbreaker. You were so close, and then they would gap away, and then you will reel them in. Was that just Mother Nature playing tricks on you?
Yeah, that was a pretty tricky day with the breeze dropping away, and there's huge gains and losses, and just had to keep your nerve. And you know, we got it right back in there down that run, and you know, should have just held on a little bit closer. But we'd made a nice gain out to the left, and pressure is king in that stuff. But as we saw again, it closed right up. So you know, it could have gone either way down that last run, and it's good to have races like that where the race is never over to the end.
Hey, Ray, take us into the starting box for a minute. All of a sudden, the weather end or the end towards Golden Gate Bridge is kind of in play in this flood tide. Take us through that different strategy.
Yeah, the weather end can open up a bit, but still starting tight to leeward is pretty strong. It's a long way around. Even in the flood, it doesn't make a huge amount of difference. There is a subtle subtle change there, and you know, we came off the start pretty well, and then got luffed up and, you know, wriggled out of all of that not too badly, but then they just slipped away into more breeze. It was a dying breeze in the leader's race down that run, and he always just had more pressure. Then from there on, we just had to, you know, work the cone and the shifts up that beat and made really nice inroads. Guys were tacking the boat well.
You know, Ray, the fact that you were able to keep catching up there, do you think you have a little more speed at times, or is it pretty even between the boats?
I think we're going well, and I think we're going well and tacking well. Pressure's king, and I think at times they got a click soft, but at times, you know, it's going back to them, and you can see it on a grand scale down the run how much difference pressure makes and the difference jibing and pressure makes.
Ray, we appreciate your time. We know how badly you want to give them a taste of Kiwi and get this last victory. We wish you the best of luck. We'll see you at race 15.
Yep, okay, thank you.
Ray Davies, the tactician for Emirates Team New Zealand. Their boys trying to stay warm, going through their strategy of what they'll do differently here on race number 15 to pick up that elusive one victory to take the cup back to New Zealand. Let's take a look at the numbers. We'll start off with upwind. And Ken, we talked about the conveyor belt as they were heading with the flood tide going against them. And what do these numbers tell you?
Yeah, well, that's where everybody's going to notice considerably lower speed averages going upwind, but pretty close, you know, 17.8 to 17.4. Not a whole lot in it. That could be a subtle shift. That can be a puff or a lull. Not a big deal, but the distance sailed. A huge change between the two. Obviously, Team New Zealand really kind of climbed back into this, and like Ray Davies said, they certainly had a couple really nice wind shifts, especially once they got over to the left side of the track. Maximum speed, again, that's just a bit of a show pony there, but the tacks, same tacks, even with that extra tack that Oracle Team USA. Remember, in the lighter breezes like this, catamarans hate to tack, and Oracle made it stick at the top end of the mark, but as you can see, they actually did the equal amounts per leg.
Take a look at Virtual Eye, and this will show you after they made the turn at gate 2, split the course, the Americans heading for the cone or the relief behind Alcatraz Island.
Yeah, they did really, honestly, the playbook perfectly. They just stuck themselves in between themselves and the Kiwis. Kiwis got back into them a little bit there. They're not going slow, and that's the one thing that, like Ray said, they can take away from this. They are not going slow in this light air upwind again, and it got really close there for a bit. But this is the big call by Ben Ainsley to split, go all the way out. They changed their moding. They went into a higher mode and sailed up kind of in front of them, then two big tacks at the top. Wow, that was a gutsy play to do that, but sure enough, it kind of paid off right out of the blocks.
And the gap began to grow on leg number 4. It came back down to around 120 as we look at the numbers, and again, looks very close, especially in jibes, dead even.
But it's really funny. It's same thing, same phenomena as going upwind. They went a little quicker on Oracle Team USA, but they also sailed a little bit further distance. This just goes to show it was a really close race. Maximum speed, again, Oracle always tends to have a slightly higher maximum speed, and jibes, same thing. Jibes are at a premium, just like tacks are in those conditions where it's hard to foil, and they ended up being even. But that's a lot of jibes in the course of a race. It just shows how tricky it really was out there.
Virtual Eye will illustrate this one on gate number 3. The Americans on the right, the Kiwis on the left, and it seemed like, Ken, when they got over that right side of the course heading down, the wind just disappeared.
Yeah, sailors around the world we've all been in this position before, and that was the big play right there. I think if New Zealand had just stuck with Oracle a little bit longer and kept it close, they could have used the bottom of the race course. But that kind of impatient jibe away, you can see these are minutes of racing, and they barely got anywhere. They got about 20 boat lengths in literally minutes of racing until they finally got out into a puff again. Then it's their turn to come reeling it back in again. Really hard conditions that the tacticians absolutely make their money on a day like today.
So at mark number 4, the Americans were clean away. They would go on to pick up the victory as we update the standings as it stands right now with the 34th America's Cup. It is Emirates Team New Zealand with 8 wins, 8 points. They are 1 away. The Americans with 6 wins, 4 points. They need to win out 5 more wins, and the cup stays in the States. The graphics we're seeing over the live pictures are a huge leap in TV technology. They're the brainchild of Stan Honey and his Emmy Award-winning team.
Sailing, the objective is really just to make the sport more accessible to non-sailors. Without the inserted graphics to make it easy to understand, who's ahead, who's behind, who's gaining, who's losing. Without that, sailing has a pretty high hurdle to get to where you can understand it well enough, where you develop a real commitment to it.
AC Liveline works by tracking the boats and cameras through precision GPS, then crunching the numbers to superimpose that data onto our TV screens. Stan developed this technology while at Sport Vision, which he co-founded, for NASCAR and American football. But no one had done it from a moving platform.
Technically, the biggest challenge in sailing was the fact that the camera's in the helicopter. And all the other sports we've done where we've done inserted graphics into the real world, the camera's been mounted on a tripod. In sailing, the camera's in a helicopter, and the helicopter's far away and it's moving all around, and then the camera's moving relative to the helicopter. And so that required us to measure the camera position to a couple of centimeters, and then the camera orientation to 1/100 of a degree.
Data is also beamed back from several fixed points on land.
One of our access points is on the Alcatraz Light, which has a good view of the race course, but unfortunately it also has a great view of the city, so it's subject to a lot of interference. But in San Francisco, I think we have 7 or 8 different access points set up on the different piers and on Alcatraz.
During racing, Stan's team checks the accuracy of all the data and offers the TV director options for analysis. While they're focused on a complex job, it's you, the viewer, who they have in mind.
One of the things about sailing that has been a frustration for many years to communicate sailing is the fact that it's a race, but yet boats are going in completely different directions. And fans struggle with that. If they're racing, why don't they go the same way? But yet, when you show the field of play and you show the 100-meter lines, people instantly see, oh, I get it, that boat's ahead, that other boat's behind. And then it's very natural. They very naturally start to understand, oh, they can't go straight. They got to go one way or the other, so they tack back and forth.
AC Liveline is now key to the event. Race officer John Craig uses it to set the course, and the umpires base their accurate, real-time calls on the data in their computerized cabin.
Two of the things that we're hoping to get solved is to show how the current affects the boats and to show how the sailors are using their own turbulent air to affect, their competitors, and what the limitations of that technique are in boats that sail faster than the wind.
You are looking at the San Francisco Bay with the Golden Gate Bridge in the distance on a beautiful first day of fall here in the city by the bay. Todd Harris, Gary Jobson, Kenny Reed, you are looking at Oracle Team USA, the defenders of the America's Cup, as they have now pushed it to a race 15. They need to win 5 more races and they will retain the cup, and trying to keep New Zealand from getting that one victory will be a massive hill to climb. Well, let's go back to race 14, which just concluded here in San Francisco as the Americans had port entry, starboard entry to the Kiwis. And Ken, we always talk about this, the hook. Someone tries to get the hook into the other guy. Explain that.
Well, this time there was no hook to be found. And this is mainly, again, because of that tidal change. It kind of evened the starting line out. One thing is we have the beauty, of course, of having all these marks perfectly pinpointed in all of our GPS. Stan Honey's in the back room. We just saw the graphic of AC Liveline. But our guys in the back room told us that they thought Oracle's end of the starting line was favored by 2 to 3 seconds in this start. They angle the line sometimes to allow the boat down low to have a little bit of an edge, so the top boat just doesn't easily, the top boat or Emirates Team New Zealand doesn't easily just roll right down over the top in each start. So it could have been that line bias, that slight angle to Oracle, that really gave them the benefit of the doubt here in this start. And actually you can see when the gun goes, their bows are poked out a little bit, and that's all the difference they needed to actually lead at this first mark.
Well, here it is on virtual eye, and Gary Jobson, you've got the best seat in the house. You saw it. It looked like Dean Barker thought about the hook and then maybe called it off a little early.
Well, if he was going to go for the hook, he had to do it a lot earlier than he was. Oracle was early for the line, though. I think the one mistake Dean Barker made, he should have been going for speed a little bit earlier. Just about 2 seconds would have made a big difference.
Gate number 3, another telling point of race number 14. Everyone watched it and thought, what in the world? Why are the Americans throwing in an extra tack here, Kenny? It really just reeled the Kiwis back into the race.
Well, you have to be really committed to want to go to what's their starboard gate, or the left-hand mark on our, as we look at the viewer here right now. They do one extra tack, which is a gutsy play. You're automatically losing many boat lengths when you do that, but they desperately wanted to get offshore, and sure enough, it worked. By the time the two boats came back together again, Oracle Team USA was literally hundreds of yards ahead, rather than only about 50 at this stage. So gutsy call by Ben Ainslie. He gave Tom Slingsby a lot of credit for looking around the racetrack and seeing the better breeze, and sure enough, it paid off in a big way.
So at this point, the Americans just jumped on the conveyor, and they were off 300 meters, the lead as the Kiwis made the turn down for that fourth gate. As we are approaching 11 minutes to go before the start of the next race, it should kick off here at about 22 minutes after the hour San Francisco time. That would put it at 2:22 here Pacific time as the boats continue to get in the race. And Ken, it looks like there's some changes being made as the Kiwis are possibly looking for a little more horsepower.
Yeah, both teams are changing their jibs, and this is quite likely. Both teams will almost always take down the jib that they have up at the time. They could be going right back up with the same exact sail, but they want to give themselves an opportunity to change. And if you take away half of the process, which is getting a sail down, all of a sudden you can make that change later in the strategy. The strategy plays out towards the start. You can play it later and closer to the start and still have an opportunity to make some time runs.
Well, the wind right now is holding steady at about 15 knots. The wind limit is 23 knots, so that should not be a factor. We should be good to go for race number 15 here on day 12. Golden Gate Yacht Club is the official host of the 34th America's Cup. And where better to watch the racing and chat about some of the best sailors on Earth right now? It's also a good spot to chat to some of the home team's family.
There's two things I can tell you and your viewers about James. One, he is a team player and always has been. He thrives on the teamwork and working with the other guys, being part of the team, and that includes the boat builders and everybody else, the car drivers, the crane driver, the whole lot of them. The other important thing about James is that the tougher it gets, the better he goes.
He's pretty competitive. I mean, even when if we're playing like a board game or something at home, like, he wants to win. So that's him. But he's very relaxed as well. He kind of goes about it like the relaxed Australian way, but yeah, he wants to win. You know, I did get a little scared, to be honest, after they had that massive capsize. And then again, when there was the accident on Artemis, you know, it just brings things into perspective, and these boats are new and never been sailed before. But James kind of put me at ease when he said, we've already had our crash, like, we're not going to do it again. And to be honest, he is a daredevil, and he does things much more dangerous, I think, than this. So I'm not that worried. He's in control.
I've been involved in 6 America's Cups. The last one was 2003 in New Zealand with Dennis Conner on Stars and Stripes, and goes all the way back to Rod Davis on Eagle in Australia. Also a Volvo Ocean Racer, but my involvement here is I'm Rome Kirby's father, and he grew up in the dugout. He was running around a diaper in 1992 when we won the America's Cup, and he's had it in his blood since he was born. Super focused, hard-working kid, and I'm just here as a spectator. It's so hard to get to this level. Eventually there's a day where the TV cameras go on and there's a race, but there's years of physical fitness and sailing training to get to that level. So of course I'm very proud.
Well, the fog is cleared from the Golden Gate Bridge here in San Francisco on day 12 of the 34th America's Cup. We will see a race number 15, Oracle Team USA, getting themselves into position as we will start things off at about 22 minutes after 2 o'clock here Pacific time. Jimmy Spithill and company fresh off their victory in race number 14.
Todd, the beauty of this is nobody has mentioned anything about wind limits here yet today.
That is a beautiful thing. For more on the weather and the conditions, we check in with a third member of our team down on the water. Here's Gary Jobson.
Good news. The wind is perfect. It is building. That's why you saw a change of headsails out there. The difference, however, the flood is almost diminished now. It'll be nil by the time we get this race going. Look for a strong ebb on the shore. So getting to the city front will probably be a premium in this race. Look, Ray Davies has got to improve if they want to win this regatta, because Ben Ainsley is owning it right now.
All right, thank you, Gary. More from you as we get into race number 15. The wind limit, by the way, for race number 15 is 23.3, so that should not be a factor. And Ken, there's what Gary was talking about. The tide is really starting to let up a little bit, the flood tide that's coming in from the Golden Gate.
That's right, but there is a tiny bit of flood still out in the middle, and that means there's probably a little bit of ebb up that city front. So we will see the left side of the race course, especially on leg number 3, or the beat. The left side of the course will still come into play. Maybe not quite as dramatic as we saw, but we'll know soon, Todd, because we'll see those big distinct current lines, and that'll kind of fill us in from a helicopter's view as to what direction these guys are going to go in.
Dean Barker, skipper and helmsman, top left of your screen. The rest of his crew, there you see on the right upper box, that is what they refer to as their pie warmers, and the fairings on the back, and that was all the rage back 5 or 6 days ago. And I don't know if someone forgot to plug in the pie warmers, because they do not seem to be working as well as they were. As we shift over to Oracle Team USA, we've got you covered both with audio and video. There you see Jimmy Spithill and his brain trust of Tom Slingsby and his tactician, Sir Ben Ainsley. Getting close to the start of race number 15, we want to keep educating you here on sailing. One of the most important things to know is who has the right of way, and we'll explain it to you in this edition of Know the Game.
When boats are on the open race course, there are a few major rules that help determine who is right away and who has to keep clear. If boats are going in the same direction, there are 2 basic rules. 1, if they are not overlapped, the boat clear ahead has the right of way of the boat that's clear astern. If they are overlapped, then the leeward boat, or the boat that is downwind of the other boat, has right of way. If they are not heading in the same direction, when the wind is coming over the right-hand side of the boat, they're on starboard tack. And if the wind is coming over the left-hand side of the boat, it is on port tack. And when the 2 boats converge, the starboard tack boat has right of way. Knowing the game means understanding the rules, an integral part of sailboat racing at any level.
So here we go. Race number 15 is about ready to get underway. Oracle Team USA will once again have port entry, meaning they get a 10-second start into the box, and this, Ken, is all for safety purposes. You don't want these 2 massive boats heading for the same spot at the same time.
It is for safety purposes. Listen, right now the tacticians in the back of these boats are both thinking one thing. Please get me the lead off the starting line. You're Ray Davies, just give me the lead to play with this time. It is no fun being the tactician of the boat behind. You have to be perfect, and the other guy has to make a mistake. The guy in the lead doesn't make a mistake, you are not going to pass him.
30 on the box.
If he jibes, I think we would tack. Still winning push. Yeah, like
Push him right down there. Get him compromised at the pin.
getting a little bit closer here.
So they're talking about strategy as to when they enter the box. They're saying if they're trying to come through all the scenarios, Todd, as to if the guy does this, we do that. If the guy does this, we do this. And so as long as it's not a surprise, that's the big thing. Let's go through the scenarios so we have no surprises.
18 from it.
We'll look for both boats to fight for the leeward end of the line on this start.
Yeah, about 15, eh? Okay, let's have a look at it.
Todd, we also wonder, possibly people at home are saying, why is Oracle coming in on the same side again? This all has to do with what race was canceled, when, how. It's very complicated.
So at 2 minutes, it is game on for race number 15. New Zealand looking for one victory to take the cup, and the Americans looking to extend it into next week.
Still thinking tack here, boys.
Got you one under now.
Roll into attacking, boys.
Jimmy Spithill talking about attack again. Different tactics than what we've seen in the ebb tides. This is all of a sudden these guys are worried about getting too far down current. Just a quick little tack right in front of Emirates Team New Zealand right there. Very surprising flag.
So the Americans have filed a protest.
And they've switched sides. Very interesting play by both of them. Oracle kind of tacking right in front. Switch back over again.
Penalty is waved off.
Both boats very close to the line here. They're going to have to kill a lot of time.
Emirates Team New Zealand does not want to get overlapped here. They want to prevent from being overlapped. Can they get up to weather? Is Jimmy Spithill too close to this pin and lay line? Keep gapping if you're Team New Zealand at this stage. Try to keep distance between the two boats.
No chance of rolling him on this one, Toppy.
Yeah, I know, but I don't want to get to the line.
And this looks very similar to what we saw in race number 14, where the Americans try to push them high at the line.
Yeah, but this is different, though. This is way down by that yellow line. This is much further down the line. Emirates Team New Zealand could be in a better place to be a slingshot here in this start.
We've got a clear race on race number 15. The Americans trying to stay alive, and here comes the Kiwi acceleration.
The Kiwis did a little bit of a skid sideways there all of a sudden and put their hull in the water. Is that enough to allow Oracle to stay out in front? I think it's going to be. A little skid killed them there.
New Zealand was too late, 2 seconds late pulling the gun. Again, no practice starts before the race.
At mark number 1, it's the Americans that have the inside lane, but the lead is just a mere 3 seconds.
Boy, this is a broken record here right now, but tiny little mistake there or bad luck really did the Kiwis in. That's just a shame for those guys. Ray Davies is tired of this position, I'll tell you that.
Okay, you can go now, Simeon. Yep.
But you can't give up. You just got to keep fighting. Eventually, you'll find a way to get past.
Copy.
Well, that's what the entire nation of New Zealand is hoping for. 4.5 million people. And it is Monday in New Zealand. The folks down there are saying, let's wrap this thing up so we can get back to some effective work.
Well, as the boats race past our position here, it looks to me like Oracle Team USA is sailing a little faster.
So the Kiwis first to jibe, the Americans happy with their course. Ken, you like the strategy, or should they be covering?
Well, they'll cover here eventually, but it's just a matter of where you see the wind. If you're the boat ahead, remember, get a better chance of actually jibing when you want and in the breeze that you like. So a lot of times we see the boat ahead extend because they're picking probably a more opportune time to tack and pressure.
Get it going, dude. Get it going. Big trim, guys.
Let's go back and look at the start one more time, and this is awfully close. Not only the collision, Ken, but a penalty, but the umpire said no penalty here.
Yeah, right now, all Oracle is saying is, hey, we're on starboard tack. The other guys on port tack, they got in our way. Well, you could also make a case that Oracle put themselves into that position a little bit too close. Oracle actually threw a flag on this. It's either head to win, and now they're on starboard. It probably was a close call by the umpires at that stage. I'm kind of surprised that Emirates Team New Zealand didn't protest. It was only Oracle that pushed their button on their flag, and the umpires decided in the back room with all the technology they had, no harm, no foul.
Yeah, I think it was a good call, green flag.
Here it is on virtual eye.
There's Oracle head to win and on starboard at the last second. Wow, huge, you know, about 2 meters between the two boats there as they went ripping by each other, but yeah, no foul.
So much for that 10-second advantage to keep them safe harm's distance away from one another. And right now, it's 400 meters. We've seen this play out before. And folks, don't turn off your TV just yet, because in the race prior to this, the Kiwis were down by 500 meters, and they came back to close it out. So here we go, leg number 2, the Americans with a sizable lead. They got the start they wanted. They led at mark number 1, and now they're starting to pull away. The question is, can Ray Davies and Emirates Team New Zealand find the sweet spot on this course and reel them back in?
The temptation is to go for a home run when you're the boat behind. But if you're Ray Davies, you got to just keep thinking, keep it close. There's enough opportunity on this race course. Don't swing for the fence now. Just try to keep it close. But they're not even foiling right there, Todd. It's light air again at this end of the race course. They're not even up on their foils.
Good saves there, boys. Really good.
Wow. What a, I mean.
How did that happen?
I know, I wasn't expecting that. Holy moly. Just a huge wind difference, hey, Gary?
Yeah, well, the big difference here is there's no current. So playing the wind actually is more important than last time. And it is very puffy out here. New Zealand's got to find strong wind and stay in it and make up distance. Not worry about match racing, just get closer.
3, 2, 1, driving.
Quick look there at Glenn Ashby, the 35-year-old Aussie on board the Emirates Team New Zealand boat as the wind trimmer. They're looking for anything right now. They are looking for an absolute miracle. They're looking for the fans on the shore to start waving the Kiwi flags to give them some kind of breeze that they can work with.
Yeah, this is good. Give it fast, Scott. Give it fast.
Just full credit to Slingsby and Ainsley in the back of this boat. They're splitting when they should split, kind of like what we were talking about in those post-race interviews. When they should split and go for the breeze, they're doing the right thing. When they should keep it close and cover, they're doing that well too. Amazing that this team is only, that afterguard's only sailed together for, what, a week and a half total?
Ken's talking about the folks in the back of this. The helmsman, Jimmy Spithill, picked up a new tactician in the form of Sir Ben Ainsley, who's a helmsman himself, and he's also got help from Tom Slingsby, who's also a helmsman, but they're playing the role of strategist and tactician after they make the change with John Kostecki.
I don't think anybody even on that boat thought you'd see a lead this big on leg number 2.
Oracle Team USA absolutely blitzing leg number 2. As they make their way to the gate, they have all the time in the world to make this decision, but Jimmy Spithill will make it clean, and they will head towards Alcatraz yet again. This will be an absolutely enormous number on the clock by the time the Kiwis get to gate 2.
Just real calm demeanor on this boat, and it's paying off. You would think they'd be terrified. I mean, they're one race away from losing the America's Cup, and not a single bit of tension on board the boat. Very impressive.
Just short of the ley lines, the Kiwis make this jibe, but they've still got about 100 meters before they get to the gate. And the clock keeps running.
Yeah, I like the fact that not one member of that crew aboard Oracle looked at the other boat as they passed. Good discipline.
It's going to be a fairly early check, unfortunately. That's a draw. Half down.
Copy. 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go.
And it will be 1 minute even, the advantage for the Americans, as the Kiwis now head upwind, looking for Mother Nature to give them a hand.
20 seconds. Yep.
And the folks at AC Park enjoying the beautiful weather and enjoying this incredible racing. Well, I noticed a few All Black flags out there. They were not waving as enthusiastically as they were at the start of the day, and hopefully they can cheer their boys on. But right now they are in a deep hole of 410 meters, so they have cut into the lead just a bit. They were down by 1 minute at the turn at mark number 2, and the Kiwis excelled, remember, last time going upwind against the Americans.
They were down by 350 at this stage in the last race, so it's not too dissimilar at this stage. Sure seems like a bigger mountain to climb just from looking at it. But yeah, the numbers don't lie. They're at about where they were in the last race.
Gary, what does the course look like as it gets closer to the Golden Gate Bridge? Where's the best spot to position yourself?
On the left side of the course along the city front's going to be better. And one of the little differences just in the last 5 minutes or so, the wind is filled in, so you're not going to see those big holes that we found in the last race.
Now, that's probably bad news for Emirates Team New Zealand. They would like to see the Americans hit a few of those holes right now so they can close this gap. But it is 440 meters to the Americans, and that's what the Kiwis are looking at, trying to climb this mountain here in race number 15, needing only 1 victory to claim the America's Cup, and the Americans now need just 5.
11 knots of breeze, really light at the bottom end of the racetrack. Breezier, clearly, look at that, oh, barely getting through it. Really tough day on the bay here right now.
And Ken, like Sasquatch, no chance of seeing some upwind foiling today, is there?
You gotta let the Sasquatch thing go.
Good pressure on the shore.
It didn't work the first time, but I'm not so sure it worked that either.
How big of a factor, Gary, is the cone in this race? You were talking about the wind filling in and a little less of a flood tide.
I like the way New Zealand's heading. You know, it looks like they almost put a smaller jib up, and it's just not working for them. The wind didn't fill as much as they anticipated.
Yep, go straight. Breeze line on our bow.
Leg 3 of 5, the second race of the day, and it is the Americans with a large lead of more than 400 meters.
All kinds of racetrack left here, though, and puffy, really tough, puffy conditions that make tacticians go crazy. But if you're behind, you want it to get as weird as possible, because that's your only chance of getting by at this stage.
And there's the game coming, as Gary Jobson pointed out, the left side of the course a little faster, and the Kiwis are on the accelerator, but they just cannot get it down to 300 meters. Now remember, they will still head downwind. The bad news is the Americans have looked so good downwind.
Nice little breeze right upwind of these guys, though. They're not.
Breeze all the way, eh?
Yeah, he's saying more breeze all the way in. That's a good sign for the guy who's behind, heading towards the city front.
45 seconds.
And the lead continues to come down. So just like in race number 14, the Kiwis not giving up. Closed it down to 250 meters.
They're just shifting into that ebb current, that outgoing current right along the city front before Oracle does right now. They will have a bit of an advantage until Oracle can get across that tide line.
And you know, Ken, initially when they made the change on board Oracle Team USA, replacing John Kostecki with Ben Ainsley, who's normally a helmsman or driver of the boat, and you had Tom Slingsby, who usually acts as a driver of the boat, I thought, well, this may not work out. This is like putting 3 quarterbacks on a football team and letting them all work together. But it seems like after the first couple races, they've all found their spot.
Well, they also made the boat go faster, too. Keep that in mind. You know, John Kostecki is a great tactician. He was in a tough spot. He was trying to work with a boat that clearly wasn't up to speed, especially upwind in those first few races. He kind of took the brunt of it. these guys are doing a great job, but it's not a bad feature when you're the tactician and your boat starts going literally knots faster. It makes you look a bit smarter.
And they did make several changes, as Jimmy Spittle pointed out, several changes to the boat. So it wasn't just the replacement of John Kostecki that has turned this thing around.
No, absolutely not. In fact, you can make a case it's not that at all.
Pressure on me now. They set up. Yeah. Good pressure from now, guys. Twisting. Pressure on the bow. Yeah. Good pop.
Todd, as usual, the Kiwis are not getting any further behind. You know, this beginning part of this leg is where they make some really good inroads every single time they're behind, so don't count them out by any means.
You know, Ken, you think that's a long distance, but these boats make up so much distance in a short period of time with one gust of wind. They go 2 to 3 times the speed of the wind that you can close it up easily.
So the Kiwis make the tack and they trail the Americans, but the lead is coming down now around 250 meters. Well, you can see on the right-hand side of that, courtesy of AC Liveline, really, there's hardly any tide on the right-hand side of the course.
Yeah, you see the tide line right out in front of. Remember, the blue arrows are what these tide models think it is, but we could see just to the right of Oracle there's actually a big current line on the water. They're both probably in reasonably similar tide at this stage. Maybe a little advantage to New Zealand, but it's probably not quite as dramatic as those blue arrows were showing us.
Pressure inside us again, Dina.
Last into it and then take that. Let's go. Stand by. Sorry. Stand by next. Stand by. Build speed. Go through. Yeah, good on it. 3, 2, 1. Here we go.
Nice work, boys. Good patience here, boys.
23. Go in.
And there's the tidal line that Ken was talking about. So the current really in no one's favor right now as the Americans have performed yet another tack.
They went right, they did kind of a nice blocking move for Emirates Team New Zealand to continue back across, to tack and come across to the left-hand side. They're going to have to go beyond that current line, and that's not a perfect situation.
This is leg 3 of 5, the second race of the day. The Americans won the first race, which was race 14. And every race they win, it forces another one because the Kiwis are on match point. One more victory to New Zealand, and the cup is theirs.
Up on foils, going upwind, little breeze increase as they get up here. That's a nice advantage to the boat ahead. When you're sailing into more wind, you tend to extend.
Look at the difference in speed here, guys. 31, 32 knots for the U.S. boat, only 23 for Emirates Team New Zealand. That's a tremendous difference.
And is this a case, Ken, of the Americans just found wind earlier, and we'll get to the Kiwis momentarily?
Well, found wind earlier, and remember, this is GPS boat speed, so that probably a little bit of current help. That probably is let's call it a knot and a half on the left side, and probably a little bit of current against on the right side. So all the factors together, big advantage to the Americans. Look at this.
And as we go on board these boats, I see a real difference between Spittle when he's steering. When he wants to go fast, he leans inboard. When he wants to point higher, he's always leaning outboard. His body language tells us a lot of how he wants the boat to go.
Currently traveling at almost 31 knots, 35.7 miles an hour. Oracle Team USA on the right and the Kiwis on the left. And as Ken pointed out, the Americans foiling upwind and the Kiwis still with a hole in the water.
Afterburners on Oracle Team USA right now. Very impressive at exactly the right time.
So, Kenny, I have a question for you, my friend.
Uh-oh.
You're down 4-1. You got to win 4 more races after this. New Zealand's got to win 1. You get to choose which boat you're on. Which boat would you take?
Oof. It's hard to bet. When you're watching a boat go 32 knots upwind, foiling right now, it's hard to bet against that boat, isn't it, Gary?
It is, and they're coming right past us here on Regardless now. They're only a couple lengths away. Very impressive going upwind. In fact, I've never seen anything like it. This is the best Oracle Team USA has sailed the entire America's Cup. Right now.
No more mode here, Jimmy. You want to make this lay line. Nice work. Nice transition.
So there they're calling that a transition. They went from that kind of lower and slightly faster mode up on foils to a higher and slightly slower, probably similar VMGs, Todd, that elusive number directly toward the mark. See that angle right around it. It looks like they rounded that buoy, but that's just a mode change from low and fast to high and slow.
The Americans sailing 32.5 knots upwind. Meanwhile, Emirates Team New Zealand is checking in at 25.5 knots upwind.
Come on, here we go. Take a rep. Yep.
Oracle setting up to take the left gate going downwind. That hasn't worked. We'll see if they actually do that left gate this time.
You should have tide should be neutral here, if not helping you up at the buoy.
You're hearing the voice of tactician Ben Ainsley. Far right of your screen.
Let's keep a little in the bank off. Go boys, going. Nah, the sheet's off. The sheet's off. We're fine. It's definitely off.
The keep's getting loaded up by someone. Every time
yeah, now. Yeah, go for it now.
Here, guys. Probably going to want an early jibe.
For sure that we will see an early jibe out of Oracle here just to stay with the other boat.
Probably early jibe. Copy. The pressure here.
So at gate number 3, the Americans maintain a lead. Remember, at gate number 2, it was 1 minute. The clock begins. How much will be their lead as they head to the finish line?
Off the shore also. Yeah. Better hold it now, yeah.
Go.
Get pressure on the bow. Going straight for a bit here.
Nice job, Cole.
Happy going straight, Jimmy.
Copy. There's pressure here.
So the Americans around gate 3, happy with the pressure they're feeling on the right-hand side of the course as they head downwind. Meanwhile, Dean Barker and Emirates Team New Zealand make the turn, and the good news for the Kiwis is they have cut the lead almost in half. So now Dean Barker and Ray Davies and the brain trust of Emirates Team New Zealand, Ken Reed, they have to make something happen here. They have to find better pressure and better current.
The screws are getting tight on Emirates Team New Zealand right now. Every loss, you got to believe that the doubt might start creeping into the back of your mind. What was insurmountable, all of a sudden, there's a chance, you know?
Well, the start of this regatta, the majority of the folks around town in the know, which does not include me, thought that the Americans would win the Cup, and they would probably get 9 victories and maybe 4 or 5 for New Zealand. Close, but the Americans were the faster boat. As soon as the first couple days took place, it was apparent that the Kiwis just had a faster boat.
Well, that is the one thing that I think people around town were just stunned at, is how the Kiwis came out of the blocks more maneuverable and faster upwind than Oracle was. And not by a little bit, substantially. But then exactly the exact same approach. They didn't stop. Oracle said, okay, let's fix this. And they did. That's the inconceivable thing, how much they've improved.
45 seconds this way.
Gary, with a leg and a half to go, what do the Americans need to do to maintain this lead?
Very simple, Todd. Stay between the New Zealanders and the mark. They're looking really good. Tomorrow's going to be another day if they're able to hold on. And the breeze really has picked up here dramatically in just the last 5 or 6 minutes, blowing about 18 or 19 knots.
Well within the wind limit set for this race, which is 23.3 knots, so we're good to go there. They've already rounded mark number 3, so that's not an issue. And right now, if you're Emirates Team New Zealand, you're thinking, is there any way we can play our stoppage card right now?
I don't think so. It's a little late for that. They got to win a start. It's becoming clear all the time that the boats are even enough in speed or maybe a little edge to Oracle. It's time the Team New Zealand may switch philosophy and say, okay, time to get more aggressive. We have to actually win a start and get these guys going slow.
going to get a little bit lighter for you.
Seconds the other way. 5 seconds the other way. Same to lift it. Okay, 30 seconds the other way. Happy.
On the first full day of fall in San Francisco, the Summer Showdown has turned into a fall classic here at the 34th America's Cup. Oracle Team USA maintaining a 400-meter lead on board. It is Jimmy Spithill, Ben Ainsley, Tom Slingsby making the decisions, and what a crew they have. The boys, as Jimmy has said, just will not quit.
Don't leave Kyle Langford out of the equation here. Here's a kid that was thrown into this position as the wing trimmer literally days before this event started. He's cleared, as this aft 4 people, the 4 guys in the back of the boat, get more comfortable with each other, especially a young kid like Kyle. They have to get better, right? They have to.
Well, is the lead insurmountable? It may be, as Emirates Team New Zealand is running out of track. You see mark number 4 in the distance, Dean Barker, trying to find some kind of magic mojo to get his boat up to where the Americans are. And Gary, as we spin this forward, if there is in fact racing tomorrow and we see a day 13, any idea what the weather conditions look like?
Well, Todd, I just had a talk with John Craig, the principal race officer here on Regardless. He says the wind tomorrow is going to be a little bit lighter, about the same direction. And then if we go on to Tuesday, that's a big if, but if we do, the winds will be a little bit stronger. So the prospects of having 2 races over the next 2 days are very encouraging.
Expect the unexpected here in San Francisco when it comes to the weather. We have seen high winds, low winds, fog, misdirection winds. Even spotted a few whales on the course yesterday.
But all of a sudden, Oracle has a really slow jibe right there. Really slow jibe. What was a 500-meter lead is down to almost nothing. Again, very light at this end of the race course.
So here we go, under 150 meters, and here come the Kiwis.
Just very light wind under Alcatraz. Oracle went just 2 boat lengths too far, fell into a wind shadow. That was the difference.
And they jibe away, Gary. This is a big call right now. I guess they feel like they have to do something.
Very hard to pass. They're behind. Give it a try.
Standing by.
Problem for New Zealand, they're attacking right, they're jiving right into where Oracle found the light wind.
One driving, 1 light out of it, touch and go.
And look at the speeds. The Americans approaching 29 knots. The Kiwis drop down to 11.
The same mistake they made in the last race, driving away when they made up the difference. They should have stayed right there.
Oracle is going to go right down and I believe lay this mark from where they were. Look at the zigzags up in the middle of the course.
Not a problem. Nice work.
Competition's nightmare.
Just a smooth turn.
After a close call in the middle of leg number 4, the Americans make the right call. The Kiwis get stuffed with bad wind, and now it is the charge for home for Oracle Team USA, looking to keep this regatta going through the weekend and into tomorrow.
Now wing, boys. Nice. Building on you.
That is unbelievable, Ken. We were down to 110 meters, and the Kiwis look to be just coming fast. And then just like that, it is back up to 400 meters, and the clock running over 30 seconds.
Just astonishing, really, how quickly we've seen leads collapse and then get re-put back on together. It's just... It is a stunning race course out here in what is supposed to be a very predictable place, San Francisco Bay.
And if you're a fan of Oracle Team USA, that is a beautiful sight. Up on the foils, heading for home with a lead on top of Emirates Team New Zealand. So 2 races today go the way of the defenders of the America's Cup. Oracle Team USA will pick up point number 5, and it will now be 8-5 with the Americans needing just 4, the Kiwis just 1. The Sunday showdown belongs to Oracle.
Great day.
That's not emotion we just saw, is it? Hey, these guys should be very proud of themselves. That was the best day of racing we've seen out of an Oracle team yet. Great starts, fantastic tactics in really hard conditions. They should be very, very proud of themselves.
And for the second time today, needing just one victory, Emirates Team New Zealand will come in second place. Their final delta as they cross the line, 37 seconds, and the racing goes on. Not much to say aboard the Emirates boat. Pier 27 is absolutely packed, standing room only, and you've got to give credit to the boys on board Oracle. Jimmy Spithill, Tom Slingsby, Ben Ainsley, Shannon Falcone, Rome Kirby, John O'Macbeth, Joe Spooner, Gilo Nobili, Simeon Tienpont, Kyle Langford, and Joe Newton doing a fantastic job.
You even heard those guys say we got to change our flights. Good for them. Nice work. This is the drama of sport. We were hoping that we would see a close series. I don't think anybody expected this, to be quite honest, Todd.
And Gary, this may go down as one of the greatest comebacks as Oracle Team USA has extended the regatta.
You know, there's been a lot of big comebacks in America's Cup history. This could be the biggest. 1920, the U.S. was down 0-2. They came back and won 3 straight. 1934, U.S. was down 0-2. They came back and won 4 straight. And let's not forget Australia, too, in 1983. They were down 1-3, and they won 3 straight. This team is on the verge of being able to do just that. Very impressive.
And no one happier than that man, Larry Ellison. He has been out here almost every single day, and boy, has the expression of the body language of that man changed. So the defenders live to fight another day. It is now 8-5. Emirates Team New Zealand still holds the lead, still on match point. But I'll tell you what, those wetsuits around the neck are starting to get a little tighter.
Wow, you have to believe that. And this is nothing against these guys. This is what sport like this is all about. The ebb and flow of what these guys have to deal with emotionally. And you got to believe there's some leaders in that team. A guy like Rob Waddell, who is really thought to be a leader there. He's won 2 gold medals. He's been in tough spots before. It's guys like that that have to grab everybody by the bootstraps and yank them on through this tough time.
One guy that wasn't on board the boat on Team New Zealand today was the team leader, Grant Dalton. When he's been on board, they seem to win. They haven't. When he's not on board, they haven't won yet.
Well, a beautiful day of racing comes to a conclusion. Before we say goodbye, we bring in the man of the hour and his crew, James Spithill. Congratulations, sir. You live to fight another day. Not only 2 tremendous starts, but when the Kiwis put the pressure on, you and your brain trust seem to have all the right answers.
Yeah, what a fantastic day. Really, really good racing under a lot of pressure. And I thought Tom and Ben just did a fantastic job when we had some real key decisions to make. But then in the engine room, I mean, the boys were just out of this world. I mean, they were just such a physical day on the handles, and man, they delivered.
Jimmy, talk about how hard it is to be a tactician on a day like today. I think you've got the easy job. You get to just hold on to the wheel. It seems to me that Benny and Tom are a bit under the gun.
Man, a day like today, I mean, it really is all about the tactics. And Tom and Ben, I mean, really under a lot of pressure there a few times, but kept their cool. You know, everyone stayed calm, and man, they just sailed such a great race. 2 great races.
Jimmy, very impressive watching you foiling upwind today on that leg to windward. How much more you got in this boat? Can you keep improving?
Man, we've got more. We're going to get more out of the old girl. The short team worked very, very hard last night. Found some extra wheels for us, and the changes really made a difference. So I'm really excited to get back in there tonight and see if we can get a bit more out of her.
Well, Jimmy, as we told Ben Ainsley after the first race, the good news is you get the win. The bad news is you don't get much time to celebrate. We will see you back here on the bay tomorrow.
Can't wait.
Jimmy Spithill, helmsman for Oracle Team USA, good enough to take some time to chat with us as they will head back to their dock and, as he said, try to get more out of the old girl. Meanwhile, for Emirates Team New Zealand, they still remain on match point. One more victory and the cup is going to New Zealand. Their skipper and helmsman, Dean Barker, sick and tired of talking with us, but Dino, it was a great race today. It just seemed like when you needed the win, Mother Nature wasn't there for you.
No, it was quite tricky conditions in the end. It was yeah, big variation top and bottom, and yeah, we just didn't do a very good job managing the downwinds. You know, those first downwinds, we just coughed up too much distance, and you know, it's going to be a hard day, 2 starboard entries. Yeah, just trying to be as close as we could at the bottom, but both times we just let them, you know, gave them too much runway.
Dino, let's go back to the start for a second. That's a tough spot, but that second start, it looked like you were really close to being able to pull the trigger and get over the top of those guys.
Yeah, we sort of were pretty happy with the spot. Just didn't probably execute it quite as well as we should have with the acceleration, and you know, it's millimeters basically. You know, you make one little mistake and they get strong. You know, the worst thing you can do is go around the outside of the pinwheel. So yeah, we conceded early, and I think we sort of had a better exit out of Mark 1, but probably just jogged away a little early.
So Dean, the wind's supposed to be a little bit lighter tomorrow, going for win more than match race tactics. How are you going to play it?
Oh look, it's you know, it's right there for the taking. You know, we just have to put a solid race together, and we didn't do as good a job as what we expect to do today. But, you know, we're certainly not down. We know we definitely can win this thing, and we'll go out there tomorrow and you know, obviously debrief tonight pretty thoroughly, but we'll do a much better job of it tomorrow.
Dean, we appreciate you being so gracious and talking with us. We know you have a lot of work to do. We will see you back here tomorrow and wish you the best of luck.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Dean Barker, skipper and helmsman for Emirates Team New Zealand. Grant Dalton talking with the boys on board. Will he come on board tomorrow as the general manager and try to help them pick up a little more speed? And Ken, I don't think it's a situation of Oracle's better, sailors right now, or their boats better. It just seems like they seem to find the spots on the course that are giving them a propulsion that they need.
Starts, little bit of pace and momentum right now. The big mo, and Oracle has all of it right now. And I really think the Team New Zealand, I'm sure they're going back to the base tonight just like Oracle is, and they're absolutely trying to find another ounce of speed, just a tiny little bit, exactly when you need it, right off the starting line, right around that Mark 1. You never know where. Hey, we're in for another great race tomorrow.
Well, all we can tell you is the racing will continue. Day 13. Will it be lucky 13 for the Kiwis? They need 1 victory. And the Americans, can they keep this great comeback alive? They need 4 more victories. If they do so, it will be an absolutely astounding come-from-behind victory, and the cup will stay in the States. So on behalf of Gary Jobson and Kenny Reed and our entire hard-working crew here in San Francisco, I'm Todd Harris saying so long for now. We'll see you back tomorrow.